All right, folks, looks like I'm going live again. Weather played a role in this. I've been sitting around all day doing nothing, so a little snow day. Oh, hey, wait. Well, you guys are checking in and stuff here. I promised Alan White I'd do something. All right, I'm back. So just keeping me honest here with, Alan was checking up on me, make sure I'm okay. I still do have a trainer ride to do today, so that's probably all she wrote for this one. Just over here out of the way. Today I want to talk a little bit about this question again. This is just a follow-up video. I'm going to hit a few high topics over the next few weeks. And this is another one that comes up quite a bit. And it is usually from new riders and or people new to the scene, not necessarily new riders, people new to the scene, new to racing maybe, and they've either come to an event or they want to come to an event. Maybe they're trying to, I've had 2 calls from 2 people this week. One's a couple guys that have BMX background and they want to come do a few races while they're in the city because most of their stuff is on Saturday and they want to do some Sunday stuff. And they just don't know what to do. How do they go about it? How do they get in? And so I'll talk them through that. And I kind of want to do that here and do it live so we can have that out there. And yes, I did redecorate, Steve. So I got some flack over that one. So just my high school, this is an awesome little high school picture of me. I'm glad you guys can't see it because, man, it was a long time ago. It's my high school track team behind me. Where was I? Oh, yes. So new riders. I mean, people come in and they just, they're intimidated. And they don't know what to do. They don't know the process. And, it's just a little easier to roll into, 200 people, 250 people rolling around and all doing their own thing. And you have no idea where to go. And so we just want to kind of lay that out. And that way we have this video to go to and we can show people and now they'll know. Let's see, how we want to go about this. I guess first thing, I just wanted to, one of the reasons that I think about things like this, and I think sometimes me and others like me that have been doing this for so long, we kind of forget. I did an interview just the other day with Tony Stewart at our bike shop and bike lab, and he asked me a question, and it was funny because I hadn't really thought about that. He asked me when I did my first race and how that went, and I really had not thought about that in so long, and I forgot how it really felt to go to these events and not have a clue. I was pretty lucky. I did my first event in 1999. I did a race in Ponca City, High Point Ranch, and I didn't have a clue. I knew how to ride a bike, but I didn't know anything about racing. I didn't know there was a such thing as race tactics. Didn't even pre-ride the course. Didn't know how the starts worked. I didn't know where I was supposed to go to line up. I didn't know where I was supposed to register. I was lucky, though. I went with a group of guys that had done it before, so they just walked me through it. It was a piece of cake. I think we see a lot of that today. We have a lot of teams. And a lot of people typically get into this through a team or a group of people that hang out and are already doing some of these races, and then that team helps them. But there's still a lot of individuals out there that kind of see these things and see these groups, and they don't know what to do. So hopefully we'll talk about that. So I want to do the first thing I want to do. I'm going to cover 2 things. The first, I'm going to probably I'm not sure the order I'm going to do these, but I want to talk about just a typical weekend, what you're going to do on a weekend, what you're going to expect. We're going to have a race. What's Saturday? What's Sunday? What's everybody doing? So Let's see. Oh, I missed a comment here by Paula. Too many everyone stand on the mountain bike holding their bike. Sorry, Paul, that does happen sometimes if categories get mixed up like they do. Several people checking inside. David Nolan. No. Yeah, I think this is good, Nolan. This is good for us, right? Anyway, the two main things I want to talk about today. Just the overall weekend, what you can expect when you show up. If you show up Saturday the day before, what can you expect on race day, how it proceeds, how it all works out. And then I want to start by leading in, what do you do when you roll in day of the race? How do you get registered? What is all this stuff that I've got to fill out? What are these forms? What are these plates? And I just want to talk a little bit about that, because that's usually the most pressing time, because you're there, you're trying to get ready for your race, and you're in a hurry. So let's talk a little bit about that. So registration, it's a pretty easy process, although it does get kind of mixed up. We try to get our promoters to kind of handle everything the same way. The promoters of the event are actually in charge of registration for the event. We will have Tour de Dirt representatives there to sell you number plates, which are the plates that you put on the front of your bike that has your number, and you use those all year, and that's how the officials score you. And all of that is typically done in the same area. So I will try to do that, Trish. I will try to do that when I get here in a minute. Trish Draper just checked in and asked me to explain the cats for people. That's categories. So I'll try to fit that in a minute. That's a good question. Again, something that we've been doing for so long, many of us, that I just forget about people not really knowing what those mean. So, and I'll do that as well, James Perry. That's part of the trick. So here in just a minute. Step one, buy a plate. That's it. Step one, before you do anything. This is how we support the Tour de Dirt, actually. The Tour de Dirt plates are probably that, along with our rider fees that we get from our promoters, is one of the biggest ways that we raise money and fund payouts and awards, series championships, championship jerseys, and all those things that we take care of at the end of the year. So I think a lot of people don't realize how much money it takes. I was just laughing with some buddies last weekend. I said I typically walk out of a bank and I don't really feel too worried about things, but at the end of the year, I have to walk into a local bank, withdraw about $6 grand in cash, and walk out, and that is all money that we use for payouts for all the podium positions in the overall series points. So again, step one, buy a plate. Before you're even allowed to register for your event, you must have a plate. If you have not purchased one, you must do so. If you have one, you need to bring it with you so that they can write that down on your registration sheet. So buy a plate, just a few pieces of information. You can't use last year's. You buy one for the current year, it's good all year long, or all season long, not all year. Well, it really is all year for us, but it's good all season long. It's $5. So this finally gets me caught up to James, who asked this question. It's $5. You can get a form online. So OKTDD.org, there is a form for the plate. You cannot purchase it online, but if you fill out that form, it's going to make the process super fast. You're in and out just a minute or two. The first race is usually a little bit hectic because everybody's getting their plate for the first time. After that first race, it's not too big of a deal. There's not usually a lot. If you lose a plate, you can purchase another for another $5 fee. It happens, not too often, but things happen. Or you leave them on your bike and the wind blows them off when you're driving home, things like that. If you just misplace it and you still have it, we can give you a temporary plate for an event, and then when you find it, you can just keep using the one that you left at home, or it's stuck under your seat or something of that nature. And then if you do need to get one, you can get one later. So not a big deal. If you upgrade, so let's say that we've had this happen several times over the past couple of years. We do have an upgrade policy in place on whether you upgrade prior to the first half of the break, summer break, or after the summer break. I'm not going to go into that now, but it does happen. We have people upgrade throughout the year. If you do so, it means going from category 3 to 2, category 2 to 1, then you have to get a new plate because the plates are all different. They're color coded. We have different colors for the different categories, just so it's easy for our officials to distinguish who's racing and keep track. That plate is free. Upgrades are free. I will see it. Sorry, one of my kiddos rolling in. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it with those. So yeah, upgrade. If you move over from one even event to another, so the example would be me. If I rotate between single speed class and then I decide I want to do age group, or I want to do age group and single speed, or there's different categories like that, those are parallel moves. So in that case, I'm responsible for 2 numbers or 2 plates. So you're just going to have to fork out the dough for 2 plates. And that does happen too. I mean, I've done that. So, all right. Yeah, I'll like Nolan's step 2, bring beer. No, that's like step 1, Nolan. And 3 and 4. Steve Cordes, if no beer, make friends. Yeah. I do bum a lot of beers, and we all do, but that's pretty cool. Kind of a good environment to have. Agreed, Alan White, and that's what I'm going to go into step 2. Your USAC license, buying annual, it's much easier. So let's talk about what that is. That is USA Cycling. USA Cycling is the sanctioning body that we sanction our races under. You will find USAC involved in almost all disciplines of sport around this area and other states and all across the U.S. And so road cycling, cyclocross, even a few one-off gravel events use USAC, although most of those guys, they do grassroots where they don't sanction theirs. They typically like stay away from that. But so your annual license, if you buy an annual license, that means you have a USAC license. You can do any USAC event in any state, in any discipline, and it's good. You're good to do all that with that license regardless of where you're at. So, for example, we buy an annual license. We race in Arkansas, Texas, I don't know, various places. So, and that license carries with us. For us, we're Cat 1, or all of us, but for me and a lot of us that I'm thinking about, we're Cat 1s. So our annual license is $75 a year. If you're a Cat 2 or below, your annual license will be $70. We have to pay an extra $5 because they've recently, over the past 2 years, have moved with a big push to do drug testing at the amateur level. And that's what the extra $5 is used for. So in fact, many of us have been tested. So more on the USAC license, you also have the option for a 1-day license. So if you're just dabbling and you're not sure you want this whole racing thing, you're not sure you want to do this, but you want to check it out, that's fine. You can get a 1-day. It can be purchased on the day of the event. There is a special form that you can do to fill that out, and that's part of the registration process, which will be the step 3 that we'll talk about in a minute. And actually that will go hand in hand with the registration process at that point. But it's $10. So that's $10. It's good for only that race and only that day. So if you decide you want to do 2, 3, 4 events and you're doing 1-days, that's $10 a pop every time. So you've got to really start thinking about it at some point that if you're really digging this, you made your 1-day payment and you're like, I'm going to keep doing some of these, and I'm going to do probably at least 7 or 8 races throughout the rest of this year, whether it be mountain biking or cross or even a road race here and there. If you've done 7 races, that's $70. You've just paid for your annual license. So you might as well get an annual license and save yourself the hassle of filling out that form every time and dealing with it. Alan said you don't need to be on a team to have a you don't need to be on a team to have USAC license. That's correct. USAC license is required. It has nothing to do with teams you're on. So, but if you are on a team, you ride for a certain team and you fill out your USAC license, you can't add that team name to your license. But that also really has no bearing on the team challenge. The team challenge is the team portion of our TdD series. Team challenge is just a roster that somebody develops. Typically, it's based around teams that currently exist and ride together, although it can just be a random group of friends that want to toss together a lineup, stick their names down, pay me $50 to have the team, and you're good to go, and you stand a chance of winning. But you do have to follow the same rules that TdD individuals have to follow as for maintaining series points. And so I will go into that. So again, just a real quick summation on the USAC license. Annual license or 1 day. Annual license is the easiest. 1 day can be done one race at a time. And it's good for that. Now then, we have a rule in TdD that, obviously we're a race series. The whole point is to accumulate points throughout the year and then get to the end of the season, and hopefully you'll be a state champion or on the podium, that's the goal in each of the individual categories and classes. And you attain all those points throughout the whole year, and that's how you accumulate X number of points to hopefully be in a league. Now, as a Cat 1 and a Cat 2, you must have an annual license to accumulate points. Cat 3s, we allow to race on 1 day licenses and still accumulate points for the series. This plays true across into the team challenge, and we had this effect. Actually, we had this affect our Al's Bike guys last year. They had a bunch of new riders pop in. They were racing on 1 days, but they were racing in Cat 2 category, so they were not accumulating series points for individual or for their team. So got that remedied pretty quickly, and that was all good. But anyway, just keep that in mind. So Cat 1s and 2s must have an annual to accumulate series points. Cat 3s do not. Steve Slauson, 2-day events need a 1 day for each racing day. Yes, Steve, that is correct, and thank you. I always forget that. Most of our race weekends are only 1 weekend races. We race on Sunday, we do cross country. However, over the past several years, we've had a couple of events, do a multi-day event, a Saturday and Sunday, or we do a couple of events on Saturday, and then we have our main event on Sunday. Turkey Mountain is that way for us this year, as well as St. Crispin's, our final race. They will have Saturday events. If you are doing a 1 day license and you're racing both days, you must have a 1 day license for each day. So that means if you're planning on coming out and doing both days, you do not have an annual license. You will have to fill out a 1 day license for both Saturday and Sunday. All right. Julie Denton, yes. 1 days are $10 a pop. That is correct. A 1 day license is $10. I'm going to scroll up here. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed anything. Actually, I think I'm going to use this time to talk about the categories. I've mentioned that a whole bunch. I promised Trish that I would do that. So let me scroll up, make sure I've not missed anything else here. James Perry, you're right. High Point was good stuff, buddy. Okay, I think I'm caught up unless I've missed anything. If I missed something that you want me to respond to and I missed it, I'm having to scroll up as I'm going here. Categories. So as you're registering or as you're planning on registering, a lot of people have no clue where they're supposed to be. But basically, our setup is it's typical. I mean, standard mountain biking. We've made some adjustments to age groups and things like that and open groups. But you have 3 categories. Category 3, 2, and 1. In the old days, that used to be beginner, expert, or beginner, sport, and expert. Yes, Kevin, license must be current. We ran into a lot of that last year. So with 3s being the beginner level, 2 being the sport or intermediate level, and 1 being the expert level. And then obviously there's pro levels and things like that, pro levels, elite levels above that, depending on whether you're local or whether you're, racing World Cup type stuff. But obviously we're just local, and we're worried about our, just Cat 1, 2, and 3. We're good. Darren, I'm not even going to go there, brother. So those are the categories. Within each of those categories, we have various age groups or styles of riding. We have some open categories. One of them is an age-based open category. We have another one that is a single-speed category. Clydesdale category, which is not fully open. It's just for Cat 2s and 3s. Cat 1s are not allowed in that one. So we just have various ones, but typically there's age group classes within each category. So you're racing with people at your level and somewhat at your level and somewhat at your age. So it varies, obviously. There's a lot more to that, but that's the basics for it. Okay, let's move on. So step 1, buy a plate. Step 2, make sure that you have your USAC license taken care of. You may have done that previously through online registration, or you may need to take care of that the day of. So either way, those 2 things have to be taken care of, and then you're rolling right into the next thing, which is registering for the race. So again, all this process happens all in the same place. It's just a matter of knowing what form to fill out so that you don't wait in the line for 10 minutes only to have someone say, I'm sorry, you've got to go back there and get that form off the table and fill it out. So at this point, you have your plate in hand. You have your 1-day license waiver filled out, or you've already registered online, or you have a USAC license and your USAC license is good. Now, one thing that we do recommend, yes, absolutely, Steve and Sloss and I am going to talk about that. One thing that we recommend, so if you're doing a 1-day, you're going to have to fill out a form, and you're going to have the form there, and you're good to go. You just take that to register. However, most of us have annual licenses, and I recommend for every single one of you guys, download that app, but not only download the app and just have that app available, because everything's, you just show that, you show your license on your phone to the person at registration. And we do this, and we started last year checking this because we have several people that did not have current licenses, and in fact, we even found one person that was racing in the wrong category. He was licensed in one category and racing in another. It was pure accident. It wasn't unintended, but anyway, we caught that through this process, which is why we do it. And so what I would recommend, though, a lot of the places that we race, now Oklahoma's not too bad, but several of the places in Arkansas that we race, self-signal is terrible. So while you're at home, while you're comfortable, while you have a great signal, pull that app up, make sure that it shows your racing category and the date so that we know that it's current and what category you're in. Screenshot that, save it. And that way you can always show that and it's good to go. You don't have to be reliant upon a signal if you're down in the hole and everything's blocking cell towers. So there you go. Let's see. Registration. So at this point, you have to have one of 2 things. Again, you've already got your plate. You've probably already taken care of your USAC online. However, if you are signing up for an event and you did not do it online, then you need to fill out either a waiver or you have to fill out a 1-day license. If you have to fill out a 1-day license and that's what you're registering, you're not an annual, that 1 day will cover both the waiver and the 1 day, so you don't need both. If you're just registering for the event the day of, you've already got your annual license, you need to just fill out the waiver. The forms look very similar. And then you take that waiver and you go get registered. You wait in line and you make sure they get your name down and you take care of business, and that's pretty much it. One thing I was going to say, if we run into this all the time, if you register online, even a lot of promoters and people helping with registration forget about this or they're confused about this. So hopefully all those people are listening out here. If you register online, that is an assumed signature on a waiver. That's what you've done when you've registered online. You do not have to fill that waiver out again. So that means that if you've got your plate and you've got your license, you just walk right up, you check in, they put your name on the deal, they write your number plate and your USAC number on the form that they have on hand, and pick up any swag that you need, and you're good to go. Kevin Caldwell, Kids Cup, fun ride versus older age group competitive. Who needs licenses? Good call. So we do have different age groups for our Kids Cup. We have 4 through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 12. So 4 groups, although our 4, 5 we also call training wheels. It's really 4, 5 / training wheels. That is considered a fun ride. And years ago, we kind of had to change the way that we did this because technically, if we're giving places, it's no longer counted as a fun ride. And we realized we had been running all of our age groups, giving awards for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place at the end of the year and at each event. And these kids were not licensed, which means that if something would have happened to these kids, we would not have been covered insurance-wise. So we made that change several years ago. And it's a little bit of a change. We've been doing it now. I think this is probably our 3rd year that we've been doing that. So if you have a Kids Cup youth racer that is racing 6 to 7, 8 to 9, or 10 to 12, those are 3 categories, that is considered a competitive event, a competitive ride, race. And you have to have either a 1-day or a USAC license for that youth. And I believe the youth ones are $30, maybe $35. Maybe someone out there can look that up for me, but they're $30 to $35. I can't quite remember exactly which number, but that gives you pretty much an idea of what that is. So hope that answers any questions for Kids Cup. While we're talking about Kids Cup youth, I did have this question come up. Someone sent me an email, and just thought it popped in my head. So you have, we've done this in the past, several of the racers that are in the 10 to 12, they're getting pretty good. Some of them have good skills, and they're preparing to move up to the next level. So a lot of them were either catting up and racing in an older age group. They were going ahead and racing Cat 3 junior level, and that is okay. Our youth and juniors can race up in age category, while adults are not allowed to do that. Adults can race down into a younger category, but our youth are able to race up. In fact, we had I think we had a couple that at first attempted to do Kids Cup and then turn around and do the Cat 3 junior race. So yeah, totally possible to do. There you go, Heath. I know you said that afterwards, so yeah, I thought I'd give a little plug here. So there's the beard comb, and this is stuff that Heath already turned me on. So, you know, Warlord, Southern Tobacco is the flavor. So beard oil, beard balm. You guys know your stuff there. So thanks for the tip on that, Heath. Trish, I'll do that. I'm going to talk about that process here in a minute about lining up for the start line and things. So, okay, so that's the registration process. So I know that took a long time and seemed pretty complicated, but it's really not once you get there. And honestly, if you get there and you're really not sure, just grab somebody. Just grab somebody that looks like they know what they're doing. If they don't know, they're going to point at somebody that does, and I'm probably running around. I'm pretty easy to spot. Just come find me, and I'll walk you through the whole process. I do it all the time, so it's all good. I'm usually just running around talking anyway. So come find me, and I'll show you exactly what you need to get done. Okay, that's the registration process. Now then, just kind of I just kind of want to talk a little bit about a normal weekend. So that's just the registration process. We'll kind of talk about what happens around that. So first of all, usually it's not just, I mean, there's a few people that just show up race day. They get there just in time to get on their bike, race, they race to race, and they get out of there. For the most part, that's not what happens. Most of us will show up early Saturday. We try to get there at least early midday Saturday. We all want to get a pre-ride in, check out the course. It's a great time to come hang out. see friends that we haven't seen since the last race. And plus everybody wants to check out the course, get it dialed in so that, they can hit the race and, be rolling without having anything sneak up on them during the race. It's a great time. A lot of teams will use that time to go out, since none of us are really trying to go hard on Saturday. Usually we're resting up for the day before. We like to take our team out and try to do some group rides. So anyway, if you're thinking about racing, you're really not sure yet, Saturday's a good time to come out. You get to hang out and see all the people that are going to be racing and talk to them and ask them questions and things like that. And it's a good time. We almost always will, places where camping's available, we'll do camping and hanging out. So it's more of a big hangout. We all do want to go get a pre-ride in for sure, but it's always all about hanging out with your friends and drinking a few cold beers and laughing, listening to some music and telling stories and getting ready to go race bikes the next day. So it's always a good time. It's always fun. And honestly, that's the biggest draw for me. I like racing my bike, but kind of like hanging out with my friends a little bit more. That's the normal Saturday. It varies obviously from venue to venue. You just never know what the venues, camping's available, what type of venue it is, but it's all good. They're all different. It's all fun. Let's talk about race day. Race day is a little bit different, and I think this is the place where a lot of people get a little bit wigged out. It's fairly hectic. That is why I recommend that you get there very early in comparison to when your start time is. So if you've got an 11 o'clock start time, man, don't roll in at 10:15. Minimum, give yourself an hour. In fact, I typically prefer to give myself more than that. Obviously I have to be there for other reasons, but if I'm just racing my bike, an hour is the minimum that I would consider, because there's just a lot of little things that go on. First of all, you have to go through the registration process that we just talked about. That takes a little bit. Even if you're prepared, even if you come with all the forms filled out, it still takes time. Okay. Then you've got to get your bike off your rack, get your gear on, get your bottles, make sure your bottles are topped off, make sure your nutrition's good, maybe one final look through on your bike. You've got to get your number plate on the bike. I ran to the start line and forgot my number plate, so that's stressful. But anyway, all those things take time. Then you got to warm up. Granted, some of the Cat 3 guys, you haven't figured that out yet. Some of the Cat 2 guys haven't figured that out yet. Warming up is critical. So you need to give yourself plenty of time to do that. Then you've got to go to the start line. They will typically do roll call. Let's say that your start time is 11 o'clock. I don't know what the standard operating procedure is, but usually they don't roll call you too soon. They'll roll call 5, 10, 15 minutes before usually. But if you listen around, they'll call you to the line. You'll hear it, but you do not want to just randomly show up at 11 o'clock if your start time is 11 o'clock. You need to be there a little bit before, because we do roll call. We stage everybody in groups. Now, this is something that I want to talk about. So when you get 15, 20 minutes before your race, you should be warming up, almost through with that warm up. Everything should be ready to go. If you've got to go to the truck one last time, go do that, and then you need to roll to the start line. As we roll to the start line, you will have an official up there, and that official will be doing a roll call. That is why registration closes 30 minutes prior to the start of your event. And that is because we need to have time for our officials to get the start sheets and start calling off names. We have to check off names, make sure we have the list of everybody that's racing, and make sure everybody's in the right spots, because everything is by category, and then there's classes within each category. And we stage all those classes separately. So I had this question from a new rider the other day, and they were concerned with, well, my start time says 10. Do we all start at the same time? And again, something that I'm just used to. I didn't think about that. And obviously I answer, and the answer is no, you do not. Yes, we need you all up there to start at 11, let's say. But every group is going to be broken up into different sections. You're just going to be, you know, there's a time gap between each category. Sometimes if the groups are small, they will combine a group, but typically everything is just separated out with gap intervals between each group, and that's how we start. I think that's really about it as for race. From then, I mean, your go time. It's just getting on your race and going and doing your thing, and then you finish up the race. One thing I do want to just talking a little bit about race etiquette. First and foremost, if you do not finish a race, you must check in with the official. And it's not for any particular reason or rule. It is simply because we don't know if you've left. The worst thing to happen is to have someone DNF, break their bike, whatever, just walk off the course, get in their car, drive off. There is going to be a list, and when your name does not show up at the end of having checked in and nobody knows where you're at, we're going to have to send people out on the course to try and find you, only to come find out you just didn't check in and you left the venue. Always check in, or else you're going to leave a ton of people hanging, and that's not cool. So do your race, finish it up. As soon as you're finished up, hang out. Usually that's time again where we have a lot of fun, hang out, drink a few beers. Usually some music's going, and we wait for the officials to tally the results. They will post the results within a reasonable time upon tallying them, and there will be a 15-minute protest period. You need to go to the trailer or the board or wherever they post these. They must post them in public view. You need to go check them out. Sometimes mistakes are made. They're easily fixable, but until you notice those mistakes, we are unaware of them. The officials are unaware of them. So you need to use that protest period to go check that out. And then if corrections are needed, you need to approach an official and say, hey, I noticed there was a mistake, and I wondered if you could take a look at it, and they will. And then we'll get it fixed up and everything will be good. But anyway, that's what that protest period is for. If you wait till after that, I mean, it's obviously we'll try to get it right, but you've missed the window to do that. And at that point, really legally, we don't have to fix anything, but obviously we will, just because we want things right. I think that's really getting pretty close to being about it. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that explains a pretty big race day. I think that explains the process, and I think I've answered quite a few of the questions. Let's see. Do one day life. Yeah, I'll make this. I have several notes on this on the side. I did say this, and I'm not sure if you guys have already heard the answer, or maybe you just missed it. Oh yes, Julie, I will do that. Thank you for reminding me. I have several questions about accumulation of series points for the state championship towards the end. Again, I just want to reemphasize, since there were several questions on this. Cat 1s and 2 must have an annual license in order to accumulate not only individual points, but team points if you were on a team challenge team. If you are a Cat 3, you can accumulate both team challenge points as well as individual points with a one day. So that's how we play that. Passing etiquette, yes. Julie mentioned this, and I was asked earlier in a post before I actually came on live about this as well too, from Russ Nicely. So, we get comments about this all the time. So this is really not part of the race weekend and the registration and all that. However, it's good because we did talk about racing, and this is a big part of that. Basically, it's just race etiquette, passing etiquette, on the bike etiquette. For the most part, there's not too many issues, although there are some. I think you'll find in the Cat 1s, there's very few issues. Most of us are experienced enough that we're not going to hold anybody up. We know how to pass people, so we're pretty good at it. We can do it without bothering people too much or upsetting their rhythm. And we can allow people to pass us fairly easily if necessary, just because we've done it for so long. And it's fairly easy. Cat 2s are a little better at it, but yet okay. Cat 3s, we find that there's usually a lot of issues about that, and a lot of that is simply maybe not knowing, not really knowing what to do, not knowing how to do it. Essentially, it comes down to, if you are racing, and I mean, I apply this to when I'm riding as well too. It's just obviously when I'm riding, I'm not in as big a hurry, and I think that regardless of whether I'm racing or riding, I'm fairly kind about it and fairly nice and calm about the whole thing. And I hope that other racers are that way as well too. If you are riding in front of someone or a group and you are impeding their process, means that they're riding faster than you, and they ask for a pass, you should let them around. I guess, if you wanted to split hairs and it turns out that they are in the same category, same class as you, you technically don't have to let them around. But that's not cool. It's not proper etiquette, and it's unnecessary. There's no way I'm holding up someone behind me that needs to go around me because I'm going slow, even if I'm racing against that person. Why do it? I mean, if you want to do race tactics like that, then you need to go pick a different sport. That's not what this sport is all about. So now, given that understanding, if you're behind someone, please ask them nicely. If you can look at their leg marking and know that you're not in their category, you might tell them that, just like, hey, I'm a single speeder, I'm coming up behind you, I'm not in your category, I just need around when you get a chance, and they'll hear that, and hopefully they'll let you around, especially knowing that you're not racing against them. So good etiquette. Just be nice, be talkative. I'm usually fairly quiet, but I don't start saying trail, rider back. I don't start yelling like that because I think that freaks people out. But I do try to let them know that I'm behind them quietly, because I don't want them to, jump and get startled, which some people do, and then when people ride up on them, they don't realize it. But I also ask them nicely and just tell them when they get a chance, I need a chance around, and I just wait, and I wait for them to make a move left or right, and then I like to get around and do it quickly, and that way, the quicker that I get around, the easier it is for them to get right back under the rhythm without messing them up too much. And that is something that I think our Cat 3s just have to work on. You have to practice it. And I don't know, I guess that's really about it. I think that's all for etiquette, and that's all for the race. I mean, there's probably a lot more to it, but I don't know, been on here for quite a while, so if there's any other follow-up questions, just ask me and I'll try to post after the fact. I'll get this up to YouTube. And again, I'll post a YouTube link to this later. You guys need to go out to my YouTube channel and like that, because probably I'm only going to do the Tour de Dirt based stuff on here, but I'm probably going to start doing some other just cycling videos in general. And I'll base those from my personal page instead of the Tour de Dirt group. So the one link, all of that will be that everything will go to my YouTube channel. And I'll post that up when I get this uploaded later. So, all right. Thanks for joining me, and enjoy the snow day if you guys are sitting at home like me, or be safe if you're out and about.